Even for the most peaceful society, security is an aspect that can never be ignored. 5 years of Muhammadu Buhari and his promise to check insecurity in Nigeria is our focus today on the program. My name is Kali Igwe. Welcome to Violence Free World. We'll begin with our special report. It begins now. By 2015, insecurity had become critical, not only to the directly affected areas, but all over Nigeria. Being an election year, it became a basis for why there had to be a change of government. This, it is believed, more than anything else, cost President Goodluck Jonathan his position. In his stead, Muhammadu Buhari, a retired Major General and former head of state, was elected. Many believed his antecedents would be brought to bear on the war against insurgency in the northeast and the issues of banditry generally in Nigeria. Some people were quick to cite the decisive manner with which he had dealt with the Chadian incursion into Nigerian territory in 1982 while he served as a military commander. His legendary war against indiscipline while he reigned as head of state remained a reference point. President Buhari's inaugural address as president, where he emphatically ordered the armed forces to relocate their operational headquarters to the theater of war at Baga, Borno State, was heavily applauded.
Insurgency is not something that you wipe out in 1 week or in 5 days, or you give a timeline, because you are fighting against an enemy that you do not recognize, even though they are humans. For all you know, they have sleeper cells all over the place. And I recall that I think in 2013 or was it 2014, we had several explosions all across parts of Nigeria, especially here in Abuja. But today, there are no bomb blasts in Abuja. There's not been one in the last 3-4 years. I think something has changed.
Our President Buhari, had not paid enough or sufficient attention to the problems of Nigeria. Today, we started with Boko Haram, and I think majority of people in this country who voted for him did so because, being an ex-soldier, he would be able to deal with Boko Haram. And once Boko Haram, we thought he knew more than that when they said they wanted him to represent him. So coming into power, everybody believed that Boko Haram would be a thing of the past today.
When this government came in 2015, there were over 17 local governments under the control of Boko Haram. They even pasted the flag everywhere. No authority except that of Boko Haram. You cannot see a policeman, you cannot see a soldier, neither can you see civil defense officer in these local governments. But President Buhari took bold initiative to ensure that we will root out the Boko Haram.
The president also requested and obtained special legislative waivers to speedily procure armaments. Between 2015 and 2020, the Nigerian government had expended several billions in dollars in the prosecution of the war and other security challenges.
$1 million was set aside. What do they use it for? If those who are at the war front are complaining that they are not sufficiently equipped.
Government is playing with terrorists, playing with bandits and criminals. The cavalier handling of the insurgency has led to some analysts to talk of government's complicity and sabotage in this whole thing. It's really appalling.
Generally, the report indicates a reasonable decline in terror attacks within 2 months of President Buhari's resume of office, around July to September 2015. However, we see Fulani terror attacks, which although had declined from May 2015 to November 2015, it soon went up again in December 2015. And Boko Haram attack, which had declined totally up to October 2015, began again to rise from December 2015 due to what we see as a reluctant control over the Fulani and the rising Fulani terror attacks.
5 years on, Nigerians observe that there has been some progress with effort at repelling the Boko Haram incursion. Though not as expressly desired, almost all territories previously occupied by the insurgents have been retaken by the Nigerian military.
It is appalling and unacceptable that in the 21st century, for 4 years, we are not making a geometric progress in the fight against insurgency and violence in this country. And yet, the architects or leadership and actors of these security outfits remain the same people. They have not shown enough capacity to decimate insurgents and tame violence across this country.
Also of significance is a cessation of occasional bombing of select locations within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. While all of this may sound pleasant, renewed incidents of banditry in other parts of Nigeria, especially the Northwest and Middle Belt area, seem to have dwarfed those gains. Rifle-wielding headsmen became even more audacious with minimal consequences, leading many to believe the federal government was being too lenient with them. These same criminal elements within the headsmen became notorious for looting and kidnapping across the country. The menacing trend of these bandits masquerading as headsmen more than anything else may have triggered legislation by individual state governments that prescribe harsh punishment for offenders, with the climax being the establishment of state-controlled security outfits. While the actions of these states may seem controversial, especially as it alters the status quo, the fact that the federal government is able to accommodate it should count as a plus to it.
Herdsmen in this country, Fulani herdsmen, these are people we used to live with before when we were young. They were only carrying the sticks to direct their cows. But today, what is happening? Fulani herdsmen carrying AK-47, killing people, maiming people, raping people, and the country is in chaos.
We believe that the king's tribal or tribesmen should have been the most, well-behaved. But the reverse is in this case, with President Muhammadu Buhari. It is obvious that President Buhari, a Fulani and a veteran, is simply looking the other way and allowing his people violate this trust.
Banditry, war on banditry is just the same thing with war on insurgency. It cannot be won overnight. We need time. Resources have been deployed. Logistics have been supplied to the military and also the police. What we are waiting now is to see the result.
Posterity hangs delicately in judgment on how the Buhari government eventually resolved the challenge of the missing Chibok girls, given that it is one of the promises upon which the APC government was elected. As at the first quarter of 2020, at least 112 of the girls are still in captivity.
A look at Chibok girls' abduction, for instance, seeing that this was the issue and the sentiment that on which this government rode to come into power. It is disappointing that the government does not appear to give any attention on that anymore. Rather, another abduction has happened and the issue of Chibok girl has simply been ignored.
The issue of the Chibok girls, it's really sad. It's sad. It's sad to me, and I know to every other person out there. Their issue has remained largely unsolved to date.
Chibok girls, since 2014. In the first place, this was a kidnap that government denied ever happened, and then later said, okay, we are looking into it. I think that it may be a bit too late now to begin to think that we could get those girls back. It's still possible, but it's been a long time, and it will be rather difficult, if not next to impossible.
In a daredevil manner, Boko Haram repeated the Chibok experience, this time on Dapchi Town in Yobe State, an act many consider an affront on the APC government. Though the girls have been rescued, one Leah Sharibu remains in captivity. The delicate thing about Leah Sharibu is that she is a Christian and her faith is very much in contention in the general dynamics. This surely is an embarrassing albatross the government would rather do without.
Leah Sharibu, together with the Chibok girls, is an unfortunate fallout of this crisis. I hope that wherever Leah is, I hope she's alive and well, and that I hope she hasn't been irretrievably damaged through early marriage, rape, and conversion to Islam.
The world is also watching to see how the Buhari government handled the El Zazaki episode, especially as it bears a close semblance to the Boko Haram movement during its nascent days. Finally, it must be noted that the dynamics in security matters require much more than military might and intelligence to tackle. The political will, handling of the unemployment scourge, and controlled rhetoric will matter greatly in checking the situation. A violence-free Nigeria is possible. This is the violence-free world, and our special guest today is no other than Barrister Mike Ejiofor, a security consultant and public affairs commentator. Barrister Mike Ejiofor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very
So
much.
now, 5 years of our president, he came on the ticket, especially with a promise to check insecurity and being a general. He's been president for 5 years now. Would you say the situation is any better than it was before he came on?
I don't think it's a yes or no answer. Nigerians were very anxious, expecting a magic wand in the background of his predecessor in office, who was a civilian, so to speak. And when he made promises that security was one of the most important points in his campaign, Nigerians were very expectant. And if you recall that the primary purpose of government, it shouldn't even be a campaign issue. The primary purpose of government is welfare and security of the people. And any government that has failed to do that is not fit to be called a government. Now, 5 years down the line, where have we seen ourselves? What situation were we and where are we up to now? You recall that when the president came, he directed that the service commanders should relocate to Northeast. That showed the seriousness of the security situation. But at times too, people make references to tell us that the situation was very bad. You recall how the election was conducted. The elections were held in Borno, in Adamawa, and all the northeast states.
During the war.
During the war.
At wartime.
Yes. The elections were held, and if you recall that at that time, the government in power had to shift the election to enable stabilization in the polity in that to enable them to conduct election. So I thought when people say that the situation is better now, we must be realistic. We are Nigerians. We cannot politicize the security.
There must be a reason for why it is so, because a general leading the fight, supposedly from the front. I hear too of these issues of this thing having international infiltration. Now, you're very much aware of the presence of ISWAP in Nigeria here now. Boko Haram is not just that local thing or something that relates to just some African countries around here. Could that have complicated matters for our dear president?
Well, I don't think so. Terrorism, as a matter of fact, is a global war. No doubt about it. We know that these are global international war that is being on. You recall when Goodluck Jonathan posted some military commanders to the northeast, how they were able to take control of some areas. And people were accused, some of them from the southeast, Ejirika, for instance, and the rest of the Chifama, were accused of killing the people in the north. Now, when the president came from his own prison, he also posted people he trusted that could help him. But the appointments were skewed to a particular geopolitical zone, which is making the fight even very difficult for us now.
Now, you made reference to General Buratai, and recently I heard this talk of another onslaught on Boko Haram authorities. A fight, I understood, was led directly by the Chadian president Idris Deby. Now, some people say his experience or his pedigree as a soldier has helped a lot here. It's being brought to bear on the fight against the insurgency, and there's significant progress or result to show for that. Muhammadu Buhari is also a retired general. So these are two former commanders who had battle-tested generals, now leading their individual countries, and yet they're being embarrassed, challenged by ragtag armies, Boko Haram. Now, Idris Deby seemed to have been celebrated somehow. Why are we not celebrating our president? Must it be the same?
Unfortunately, there is no basis for comparison, for many reasons.
How?
One, our president, a general, a retired general, is an old man. You don't expect him to handle matters the way the young person handle it. Two is the composition of the country. What is the size of Chad? How many soldiers do they have? What political considerations would you take in play? Would you take into consideration, political consideration, before taking any action? If Buhari, for instance, takes certain action that Deby took, he will be accused by Nigerians. That's why I continue to say that we cannot continue to play politics with our security. There's a lot of politics in our security. A lot of people are benefiting from what is going on. It's a franchise now.
Yes.
So the problem is that these are two extreme positions, Nigeria and Chad. There's no basis. Is it wealth? Is it population? Is it the economy? He can stand up and move to any place. Our president is an elderly person. We don't expect him to begin to junket and go to the war front.
You're watching Violence Free World. The program continues after this time out. Welcome back. This is the Violence Free World. Now, Barrister, it's been for several years now. There was Chibok girls, then Dapchi. And to this moment, I remember Lira Shaibu is still in captivity. Is this an albatross the Nigerian nation, or should I say President Muhammadu Buhari would like to get off his neck? Is this possible before he leaves?
Well, it's a very sad one, very unfortunate one, because of the configuration of Nigeria. You know, we are divided in political, ethnic, and religious lines. And the circumstances on which that girl was taken, and she refused to renounce that faith. So this, to that extent, this is an albatross to this government. And they must do everything possible to get the release of that girl. If they don't get her released, it's really albatross. And it's quite unfortunate. You recall that even the previous government also played politics with Chibok girls. They say it is politics, nobody took it serious until now. Some of them are still missing. And we must be very careful treading on religious line in this country, because this is one thing that can destroy this country.
So the way you said that, are you implying that because she's a Christian, that's probably why she's still out there?
Of course, that was the reason given, that he was asked to renounce her faith and she refused to. And they decided to keep her and release the others. So that is the point I'm making, that government should look for a way out of this matter. Because as long as that girl remains there, it's, like you said in your own word, which I agree with entirely, it's an albatross to this government.
Now, as we grind towards the heart, let's see, is this another plus for the government of Muhammadu Buhari that there's so much clamored for state police is about to happen, as in providing the enabling environment for vigilantes, Amotekuns, Hizbah, and the rest of them to begin to thrive, and then elevating it to a discourse towards state police? Are we about to see state police now?
Well, that's a very interesting one, because I have been an advocate of the state police. The police, the Nigerian police as it's structured now, will never perform. No matter the kind of person you bring, no matter how intelligent, how efficient that man is, like the current IG of the police, I've never met him, but I believe he's doing the best he can. But with this present structure, there's nothing he can do. So we need to create the state police. He has come up with the idea of community policing. Community policing, for God's sake, has been in existence. What is community policing? It is not involvement of members of the community who did that in my place, form vigilante to check the menace of headers in my place, and it's giving positive results. But we will not stop there. We should go forward to formalize and create constitutionally the state police. That's the only way some of these security challenges that we are facing can be solved.
Okay, finally, your words to the House of Youth watching the program today, young people watching you right now. They see violent people become successful, honored in the society, revered, and they're the ones doing the right thing. Yet, you're out there constantly telling them to be law-abiding, to be people of good conscience, and the rest of them. What would be your advice to them?
Well, my advice is that it's not even to the youths, to our elders. Because when the elders set good examples, then the youths will follow. Our elders have disappointed us. And the youths who have also found themselves in position of power have not helped matters. They're even worse. So what we are saying, what I am advising is that we should look at our values, change our attitudes. Somebody is giving an appointment today, everybody is congratulating him. Why are you congratulating him? To serve. Is it why you should go and congratulate people? But because they are not out there to serve, and because of our own orientation, our culture, where you are expected to patronize your extended families, your friends, and obviously, it becomes difficult. So, one, the youth to be patient. Government should make basic provisions like housing, health. When you get all these things, for God's sake, you don't need to set up EFCC to fight corruption. You don't need to set on anybody, any institutional body to fight corruption. Who is not corrupt in Nigeria? I challenge that person who says it's not corrupt. Somebody on 18,000 naira or 30 as it is now, which some people have not paid. You are living in a house of 450,000 naira. How do you account for it? So as long as government has failed to provide for the basic necessities, the youth will continue to be deviant. So our government should formulate policies and we should change our values, our attitudes. People should fear God. Because if you don't fear God, you can do anything.
Well, President Jofo, I think that's a very, very good point to leave it. I must say I enjoyed every bit of what happened today. You've been most incisive. Thank you very much for being a wonderful host or guest here, because I'm in your place.
So you stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I've been talking to Mike Ejiofor, a security consultant and public affairs analyst. My name is Kale Ikwe. Same time next week promises even a better edition. Until then, please remain on the road to a violence-free Nigeria. Thank you for watching.
No.